Picture Jupiter. You see that big striped ball of orange and beige floating quietly in space, right? A giant planet with a red spot. Beautiful, distant, harmless. Now erase that image, because Jupiter doesn't have a surface. It has no ground, no land, no bedrock, no place to stand. If you fell into Jupiter's atmosphere right now, you would fall and never stop falling. There is no bottom. There is no solid surface waiting for you anywhere inside this planet. Instead, you would sink through layers of gas, supercritical fluid, and liquid metals, crushed by pressures that make the deepest ocean trench on Earth feel like a swimming pool. Today, using cutting-edge AI visualization and the latest data from NASA's Juno spacecraft, we're going to take you somewhere no human will ever go. We're going inside Jupiter. If you're the kind of person who looks up at the night sky and wants to know what's really out there, not the simplified textbook version, but the raw, terrifying, beautiful truth, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button right now. Tap the bell so you never miss a new deep dive. And drop a like on this video. It genuinely helps us bring you more journeys like this one. All right, let's enter the giant. Chapter 1, Level equals moderate, greater than the giant next door. Before we go inside Jupiter, you need to understand something most people never fully grasp. How absurdly, incomprehensibly big this planet is. Jupiter is 11 times wider than Earth. You could line up 11 Earths side by side across Jupiter's equator, and they still wouldn't quite reach the other side. But that's just the diameter. In terms of volume, you could fit 1,300 Earths inside Jupiter. Let that sink in. 1,300 Earths. And it's not just big, it's heavy. Jupiter has 2.5 times the mass of every other planet in the solar system combined. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Add them all up, multiply by 2, and you still don't reach Jupiter. Here's something that might surprise you. Jupiter is made of almost exactly the same stuff as the Sun. 90% hydrogen, 10% helium. If Jupiter had been just 80 times more massive during its formation, the pressure at its core would have ignited nuclear fusion. And Jupiter wouldn't be a planet. It would be a star. We would live in a binary star system with 2 suns in our sky. But Jupiter fell just short. It's a star that almost was, a failed sun. The Romans named it after the king of the gods. And when you truly understand the scale of this planet, that name doesn't seem like mythology. It seems like an understatement. Now let me give you one more number to set the stage. The gravity at the top of Jupiter's clouds is 2.4 times stronger than Earth's. If you weigh 175 pounds on Earth, you'd weigh 420 pounds on Jupiter. And that gravity is constantly pulling everything downward, into the planet, toward conditions that defy imagination. But here's the thing. Everything I've just described, the size, the mass, the gravity, that's all from the outside looking in. That's the view from 640 million kilometers away. The real question is, what happens when you go inside? Chapter 2, Time equals 500 milliseconds, / greater than the descent. Imagine you're inside a spacecraft. You're approaching Jupiter from space. The planet fills your entire field of vision. Swirling bands of cream, amber, and rust red stretch from horizon to horizon. It doesn't look like a planet anymore. It looks like a wall. You cross the boundary. You enter the atmosphere, and immediately, everything changes. The first layer you encounter is the ammonia cloud deck. White, brilliant clouds of frozen ammonia crystals. The temperature here is minus 150 degrees Celsius, 240 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze carbon dioxide solid. You can still see sunlight filtering through the clouds above you. The pressure is about half an atmosphere, less than what you feel at sea level on Earth. But you're falling fast, 2.5 times faster than you would on Earth, because Jupiter's gravity doesn't let go. Within minutes, you drop into the second cloud layer, ammonium hydrosulfide. The clouds here are brown and thick, roiling like smoke from an underground fire. The sunlight fades, the pressure climbs to 2 atmospheres, and the darkness begins. Deeper still, you hit the third layer. Water clouds, towering thunderstorms made of actual water vapor, rising hundreds of kilometers into Jupiter's sky. Lightning flashes around you, but not the kind you've seen on Earth. These bolts are 1,000 times more powerful than any lightning strike in human history. And here's the strangest part. At this depth, the temperature has climbed to about 20 degrees Celsius, room temperature. If you could somehow hover right here, in complete darkness, surrounded by alien thunderstorms, the air temperature would feel comfortable. But you can't hover. You can't stop. There is nothing to land on, so you keep falling. Below the water clouds, there are no more clouds, no more layers, just an endless, featureless, pitch-black abyss of hydrogen gas getting denser and hotter with every kilometer. The pressure climbs to 10 atmospheres, then 100, then 1,000. And here is where the story of the only machine that ever attempted this journey becomes relevant. On December 7, 1995, NASA's Galileo atmospheric probe plunged into Jupiter. It entered at 106,000 miles per hour, the fastest atmospheric entry of any human-made object in history. In the first 2 minutes, it experienced deceleration forces of 230 G and temperatures twice as hot as the surface of the sun. Its heat shield lost 80 kilograms of material, ablated away by the friction. But it survived. It deployed its parachute. And for exactly 57 minutes, it transmitted data back to the orbiter, 130,000 miles above. It measured wind speeds. It sampled the chemical composition. It recorded temperature and pressure as it sank deeper and deeper into the giant. And then, at a depth where the pressure reached 24 times Earth's atmospheric pressure, the signal stopped. The probe was crushed, then vaporized. By 3 a.m. the next morning, there was nothing left of it. Not a bolt, not a wire, not an atom of titanium. Jupiter had erased it. And here's what makes that story truly terrifying. The Galileo probe penetrated less than 0.1% of Jupiter's total depth. It barely scratched the outermost skin of the planet before being destroyed. Everything below that point, everything we're about to show you, no human-made object has ever seen. Chapter 3. Time equals 500 milliseconds / the impossible ocean. Below the point where the Galileo probe was destroyed, you keep sinking. The hydrogen around you is no longer a gas. It's not a liquid either. It's in a state called supercritical fluid, a bizarre phase of matter that has properties of both gas and liquid simultaneously. It flows like water, but expands like air. There is no surface tension. There is no boundary between up and down. The temperature is now in the thousands of degrees. The pressure is crushing beyond any reference point on Earth. At this depth, you are surrounded by an ocean of hot, dense fluid that stretches in every direction, with no walls, no floor, and no ceiling. And then, at roughly 5,000 miles below the cloud tops, something extraordinary happens. the pressure reaches approximately 2 million atmospheres, 2 million times the air pressure at sea level on Earth. And at that pressure, hydrogen does something that shouldn't be possible. The electrons in each hydrogen atom are ripped away from their nuclei. They begin flowing freely between atoms, exactly the way electrons flow through copper wire or iron. Hydrogen, the lightest, simplest element in the universe, becomes a metal. This is liquid metallic hydrogen, a substance so exotic that it barely exists anywhere in the natural universe. On Earth, scientists have only managed to create it for fractions of a second in laboratory experiments using diamond anvil presses and shock compression. But inside Jupiter, it exists in quantities that are almost impossible to comprehend. Let me put this in perspective. Earth's oceans cover 139 million square miles. Their average depth is about 12,000 feet. They contain 332 million cubic miles of water. That is the largest body of liquid on our planet. Jupiter's ocean of liquid metallic hydrogen makes Earth's oceans look like a puddle on a sidewalk. It is the largest ocean in the entire solar system. And it's not made of water, it's made of metal. Now here's where it gets even more extraordinary. Because metallic hydrogen conducts electricity, and because Jupiter rotates once every 10 hours, spinning faster than any other planet, enormous electrical currents flow through this metallic ocean. And those currents generate a magnetic field. Not just any magnetic field. The most powerful magnetic field of any planet in the solar system. 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. Jupiter's magnetosphere, the bubble of magnetic influence surrounding the planet, extends 30 million kilometers in every direction. That's larger than the Sun itself. On the side facing away from the Sun, Jupiter's magnetic tail stretches so far that it reaches beyond the orbit of Saturn. If you could see Jupiter's magnetosphere with your naked eyes from Earth, it would appear 5 times larger than the full moon in the night sky. All of this incomprehensible magnetic power, is generated by an ocean of liquid metal that no human eye has ever seen, churning in total darkness at tens of thousands of degrees deep inside a planet that has no surface. Chapter 4. The Heart of the Giant. We've passed through the ammonia clouds. We've fallen through the thunderstorms. We've sunk through the supercritical hydrogen. We've crossed into the metallic ocean. And now, we reach the center. At the very core of Jupiter, the pressure reaches 100 million atmospheres. The temperature is approximately 35,000 degrees Celsius. That is 6 times hotter than the surface of the Sun. For decades, scientists assumed that at the center of all this gas and liquid, there had to be a solid core. A ball of rock and metal, perhaps 10 to 20 times the mass of Earth, sitting at the very bottom like a seed inside a fruit. But NASA's Juno spacecraft, which has been orbiting Jupiter since 2016, told a different story. By measuring Jupiter's gravitational field with extraordinary precision, Juno revealed that Jupiter's core is not solid. It's not a neat ball of rock. It's what scientists call a dilute core. The heavy elements, the rock, the metal, the ice, they're there. But they're not concentrated in one place. They're dissolved into the metallic hydrogen around them, spread out over a region larger than the entire planet Earth. The core has no clear boundary. It fades gradually into the ocean above it, like sugar dissolving in hot water. So even at the very center of Jupiter, at the deepest point imaginable, there is still no surface, no floor, no bottom, no solid ground, just an unimaginably hot, dense soup of dissolved rock and liquid metal, blending seamlessly into the layers above. This planet defies every intuition we have about what a world should be. Now, there's one more thing about Jupiter that most people get wrong, and it might be the most important thing of all. For decades, astronomers called Jupiter our cosmic shield. The idea was simple and comforting. Jupiter's enormous gravity acts like a vacuum cleaner, sweeping up dangerous asteroids and comets before they can reach the inner solar system and threaten Earth. Without Jupiter, the theory went, life on Earth would have been wiped out long ago by constant impacts. It's a beautiful story, but recent science suggests it's not true. In a landmark study published in the journal Astrobiology, NASA scientist Kevin Grazier ran computer simulations tracking tens of thousands of particles over 100 million years. And what he found turned the shield theory on its head. Jupiter doesn't just absorb asteroids, it throws them. Its gravity captures objects from the outer solar system and flings a significant fraction of them directly into the inner solar system, crossing Earth's orbit. Jupiter isn't a shield, it's more like a cosmic sniper. But here's the twist. Those same objects that Jupiter hurls inward, many of them carry water, ammonia, and organic compounds, volatile materials from the outer solar system that are essential for life. Without Jupiter's gravitational interference, those materials might never have reached Earth. Jupiter didn't protect us from destruction. It delivered the ingredients for our existence. So perhaps we should stop calling Jupiter our protector and start calling it what it really is, our accidental creator. Chapter 5. What we cannot see. No human being will ever set foot on Jupiter. There is no foot to set. There is no ground to receive it. The only machine that ever tried to enter Jupiter lasted 57 minutes before being erased from existence. And in those 57 minutes, it explored less than 1,000th of the planet's depth. But we live in an age where technology allows us to see beyond what our instruments can physically reach. NASA's Juno spacecraft has been mapping Jupiter's gravitational field and interior structure since 2016. Machine learning algorithms have identified 4 distinct internal layers that we never knew existed, and AI visualization can now reconstruct what lies beneath those clouds with a level of detail that would have been science fiction just a decade ago. And what we see is both terrifying and magnificent. Jupiter is not a striped ball of gas floating quietly in space. It is a world without a floor, without a sky, without a horizon, a place where hydrogen becomes metal, where storms larger than our entire planet rage for centuries, where lightning bolts carry 1,000 times the energy of anything on Earth, where an ocean of liquid metal, the largest in the solar system, churns in total darkness, generating a magnetic field that dwarfs the sun. And it's out there, right now, 640 million kilometers from where you're sitting, spinning once every 10 hours, silent, colossal, indifferent. Maybe the lesson here isn't about Jupiter at all. Maybe it's about us, about how we look up at the night sky and see points of light, when behind every single one of those points, there is a world we never bothered to imagine. Don't make that mistake. Never look up at the sky and see only darkness, because behind every point of light, there is something that could change everything you think you know. If this video changed the way you see Jupiter, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who loves space. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell. We go deep into the worlds that nobody shows you, and we do it every single week. I'll see you in the next one.